So on March the 26th, 2025, approximately 7:40 Central Time, a little bit earlier, there was a headline breaking news here on watching CNN, and this is a screen grab from what we're talking right now as they're going into actual breaking news, where the journalist Goldberg from the Atlantic actually said, well, you know what? They're saying this was not classified information, well, not sensitive information, but I withheld many of these screen grabs from these texts in this signal chat that was held by many high officials during or before and after a raid on Yemen ships and fighters in the Middle East. I'm going to go ahead and release them since they're not sensitive. They're not classified. There's nothing wrong in them because PH has said, this guy's attacking. They're not there. Well, number one, they're attacking him for essentially being in the chat when he was added by another person who's taking responsibility, even though Trump is blaming some low-level guy who had nothing to do with it. So breaking news as is going on, and we'll have a link to the Atlantic article here because it's where it's going on, and all the people are just now sifting through to see what's in there. And then when we get some actual other news agencies that go deep into it and give us something that's not behind a paywall, we'll get you some links there as well, the update on that going forward. If you're watching this on TikTok, I'm sorry, you just have to go look it up on your own. We've been talking about this for 3 days. How if I were still in the Air Force or I work for any government agency and I were having a level of discussion on an app like Signal on just anything that was something related to work-related stuff, I would be fired. If I'm on a level that's talking about something on this level, I would be court-martialed. I would go to jail. It would happen. And many people who have military backgrounds know this and have said this out loud. While there are people who are doing their best to defend the president because that's what their job is to do right now, defend whatever he's saying, there is a place for actual accountability in doing things wrong. Admitting you did things wrong is one thing. Taking the punishment for it is a second thing. Us moving on along with it and doing better in the future is what's happening. Right now, and like I said, I've not actually seen any of the text yet because this is pumping in there. I'm doing this literally more or less breaking news right now. Right now, we're going to see what happens with this one. Whether people are going to not believe it, which many people will. Many people basically use this to shore up their idea that Trump is evil, which they already know, so it doesn't really fix anything. And anyone in between, anyone who's sort of on the fence, anyone who's really independent, who's looking for details to go into and make their own judgments. Now, what we're going to see is if you believe that the journalist who got put into this chat by mistake just kind of watched what was going on and then confirmed it as news reports came in, and he was holding back to it and did this story just saying, hey, these guys aren't being as safe with information and being really glib about how they're talking about things right now. We should worry about that. If that's the actual truth, within the parameters of what you believe, then there's one thing to worry about. If he's making it up, that's a totally other thing to worry about. If the people that are being persecuted, in this case, the folks that work for the government, are being set up or they're being shown to be something way beyond what they actually are doing, that this really isn't as bad as it's going to be, that'll be something different. But what we're actually seeing in real time is free speech. The right to speak, the right to say things, right to give expression, and the right to tell the actual truth based on facts that you are given and not being gaslit or held back by any other entity saying they're not wanting to do that. At this moment, John Payne's actual opinion, Donald Trump is doing a massive sort of voodoo campaign of gaslighting the world saying we suck and we want to be better and this is why we suck. So we want to be better. Do this, do this, do this. And they are appealing to people who rightly have issues that things aren't going so great. But they're appealing to those people by saying, it's not your problem. It's everybody else, all the others in the world getting a little something or trying to get a little something. Succeeding in getting something that you don't really want or can't quite get or really is just, they're really looking for scraps. But they're out there doing this, and them pulling for scraps is what's going to make things terrible. So we're going to get rid of that. I did a bunch of stories in the past couple of days about the Trump administration, things they're doing to change up how America is seen. And they want to do that because they see it in a version that is skewered by who they are. We all have versions of who we are and what we all do. And there's a bit where things get skewered by our perception because I've got this skin and I've got this voice. And sometimes this skin and this voice don't quite jive with each other. They go out in public and I get weird looks. And that's my perspective of things going forward. That drives my perspective in things going forward. It is what it is. But because I can't fall in line as generic person to look for a reason to be angry, I have to take on my own anger for my own pieces. I may have the same issues that any person out there has there, but from my perspective, where I came from, where I am, where I'm trying to go, it's a totally different story. What we're going to see right now is one person telling a story from perspective of being there in real time and hearing what people think about what's going on in the background. It's a different thing when you know you have a boss that sort of doesn't like you very much, but you get along well and you make money for them, so you take things on. It's something totally different when you get a chance to hear in his words what he thinks about you and y'alls and what's going on. Story had last week on Jackie Robinson and his military career being erased from the DOD and from the websites. Talked about an article that was in his autobiography where Lieutenant Robinson, asked for more resources for his black troops, and the commander, who did not realize Lieutenant Robinson was a black troop, basically told him what he thought about his black troops. This does not excuse what was done by the people who are in charge. This does not super exonerate the journalists for what happened, because it was a fluke thing that happened. But because of the fluke, we have this story to talk about. We have content, team content, go team content. But it's really hard. It's really hard in this day and age, this literal day and age, to wonder how much more we have on this to go, how much more time we have for general parts of free speech. The Trump administration is now suing law firms to pull their security clearance and get them out of the business for people who used to work for them that did things against him and his people. He pulled security clearance for a law firm that hired somebody that went after Paul Manafort years ago, who no longer works there anymore. They pulled away the security clearance for the law firm that's working for Jack Smith right now because he needs a lawyer, because eventually they're going to come after him. They are trying to pull licenses, trying to do what they can to push away and bully around journalistic entities, whether they like them or not, because they're saying really silly things and they won't go for them because they're really silly and sometimes stupid things. Gulf of America is dumb, and it should not even be an issue. But it's an issue because Trump is using that to push away journalists into the fold and bring in more people who are saying more, let's just say, crazy things and taking direct money from propagandists from Russia. And it's propaganda, not just a source of funding. They're saying stupid Russian things. So while I may be the last person watching CNN, and I love me some Sarah Seidner, so I'm going to keep watching as long as I can, you can complain about the source to a point, especially when the sources actually aren't covering the story with the news in there. But there should be more independent journalism, more actual journalists saying things. And you can count the bloggers and the people coming up with tangents that go deep into stuff with research going back and forth. Not just, I heard this thing on the internet, I saw somebody say something on TikTok, so I'm going to say it out loud while sitting in my car. Because that's why I don't do videos sitting in my car. That's why I do less videos, because I don't have a great place when I'm working my day job, which is kind of important as well, to kind of go off someplace and be in quiet, be in solitude, and do some of these things, clips or not, working whatever. Plus, I also respect my day job and don't want to just, get out, leave a meeting where some IT work's going on because some silly story about a squirrel chewing off some wires and shutting down power in the city pops up there. As much as team content is lovely, it's not paying my bills yet. So, and because this isn't paying my bills, I have to worry about two things. One, will it ever pay my bills? That'd be great. The problem with that one is the marketplace. There are so many other people who say things in much more eloquent ways, with more resources, more ways to do things nice and prettier, things like that, and with talent and backgrounds that are being fired each and every day, and oddly enough, becoming real estate agents. And there's me, small guy, reading news stories, saying, hey, that's interesting. Let's talk about it. And because I didn't back the right guy, and that guy is pretty vindictive about anything that he doesn't like to hear, can shut me down. Find a way to shut me down. It's one thing to be trolled and have people who think, oh, that guy doesn't sound very well, or that guy seems like an idiot. Let's just push him away out of the business. Something else to be sort of have the dog sucked on you, sicked on you. Send the dogs out after you, if you will. An analogy that is a much greater analogy if you think about it, even though I butchered the way it was spoken. So this is, yes, a off the cuff, a unplanned, completely non-scripted idea, but we'll go deeper in this going forward. I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the Atlantic story and have it in the next sort of drops of things going on. I'll have to shuffle down some things. I have a lot of things posted for the day because I'm trying to manage a lot of things on this semi-holiday stuff and get some work done as well. So I got to go through and shuffle and see what goes on, what I have queued up, ready to go to get them in the right mix, because sometimes it's when you post a story it makes a difference. This one probably won't go out for another 20, 30 minutes as I'm recording this video. I'm going to check the story first and put it out there. Like I said, we're going to post some things to the Atlantic, the actual story, because they need credit, and we'll post something to something not upon a paywall, something that has a bit of more nuance and understanding so that you can go through it on your own in that part, and then go to the source if you need to. Journalism is being attacked, literally and figuratively. The administration is cutting off sources to other folks and using the word, saying that they're Marxists, they're unfair, they're saying lies and things going on, when in most cases, they're taking a fact sheet, they're looking at a scene, they're writing down things as they happen and repeating the things as they happen with less nuance than the people in power would like us to have, or sometimes more nuance because they want no nuance, no thought process, and it's just, this happened, we're doing it for you, it's all good, go back and play with your toys. If I'm lucky, no one will see this video and I'll have nothing to worry about. If I'm unlucky, more people will see this video and I will have a little bit more to worry about because the message came out. If I'm super lucky and people see it and I have to deal with some repercussions, people will hear me, people will talk about it, people will share it, and I'll get some of those collaborations I've been looking for to talk about these things and bigger issues. Most likely, the most unlucky thing to happen, and probably won't happen because most likely no one will see this, is that I'll be targeted. I'll be shut down. Someone will try to silence me in this little bitty platform, what I'm saying, because, funny guy with a, no hair, bad haircut, and of course he stumbles on his words, stumbles and stutters a lot. Trying to say things, trying to look like he's smart, trying to make fun of my guy, and I don't want that happening. When I say go to the source, I'm not just saying do your research and listen to a bunch of TikToks of people just saying things to you. That's, getting into the stories, getting perspective. That's getting some idea of what people are thinking about and how this is going there. But go to the bits and pieces of the facts internally. In this case, we will see a man showing receipts. You can say the receipts are fake, and that's fine. But assuming they're not, assuming the conversation is real, assuming that the chat links are what is there, assuming this is what happened, take the time to think about what was said, how it was said, where it was said, and the actual global implications of what was done. Get out of your small, tiny world. Get out of the 4-block radius of your world and think about how it affects somebody a few blocks down, or a few miles down, or a few states down, or a country away. And think about what actually is going on in this thing. There's no actual grand way to wrap this thing up, so we're just going to wrap it up. All the regular sort of, calls to action are there. Stop by my website, thisisconversationproject.com, and find out if you're stumbling upon me in a wild way, find out what this is all about. Email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com, or just reply to this video with all the comments you want to. To be honest, the actual swing of comments in most things I do, even though it's not pure Trump, is usually a 65% in favor of a MAGA world and the other way going around. It just goes there. And it's all based on whatever stories get popped in there. I wanted to do more general news, wanted to do more fun stuff. Man, I want to do like history of the day and birthdays and a funny story of the day and get that to that one and just have this stuff here, just kind of circle around that stuff. I don't think I'll be targeted for any concentration camps anytime soon because I don't have the voice. I don't have the stick. I don't have the coverage. No one cares what I'm saying. And that's unfortunate what's going on. But you should care what's being said regardless. If I am lucky enough for you to see this, and I'm glad you saw this and we watched it all the way through, I thank you for looking at one, independent journalism. I don't see myself as a journalist right now. I am an aggregator, and I'm just making conversation. I'm a failed talk show host, as I've always said. We're going to find out what these things say. They're right now breaking some things down right now, and so they're talking about what is being said because they're reading them in real time and getting the access to actually show some, review some, because it belongs to Atlantic until they get the rights to do things going forward. The administration, Donald Trump has to be watching this and has to be figuring this out. And just by saying his boy Waltz made a mistake and he learned his lesson, and Pete Hegseth might have talked a little spicy, but it is what it is. Actions have consequences. Consequences is just a word that means when you do something, something happens. You push a button, it happens. You light a match and throw it on a group of sticks, it starts a fire. You light a match, you throw it on a group of sticks in the middle of the wood, it starts a fire. Whether that fire is supposed to be contained for a campfire or it sets ablaze a forest fire, that's the consequence. That's the situation. The situation we're in right now is extremely scary. I am extremely scared for the collective us in general. A little scared for me because I feel like this is what I'd like to do. This is what I can do. I can give opinions. I can have conversations. I can talk both sides. But that ability and the resource is dwindling. This might be a bit rambly, but the point of the matter is Jeffrey Goldberg, the journalist who was pulled into the group chat on the chat app, not the certified, secured lines that the government has to keep these things from being put into by random people, is showing the proof of what was being said. Because Tulsi Gabbard said yesterday, there were no classified, no secret, no secure things that were put out in the chat, even though she could not actually say she was on the chat. Check out some stories. Don't just take my word for it. Check out some various stories from various places. Find a venue that you don't like. I'm going to Newsmax and AAON as well as MSNBC and CNN and Fox to check what everybody's saying because I got to see what's going on. And then decide for yourself if this S show is as bad as it really is.